we are going to be talking about the top transfer players this upcoming season. So just to give you guys some perspective on who we're talking about, we're doing the Andre rankings. They did a pretty good job of putting them in a decent order that I will run through and let you know if they're good or not. So we're pretty much going all the way down, I believe. I know there's 50, but I don't know. I don't think we're going to get to 50. And then I'll also let you know who's one of the best ones that are left in the transfer portal. But let's start off with number one, Travis Hunter. It's super easy. Coming from Jackson State University, played corner and wide receiver. He's a great cornerback. I think he's absolutely phenomenal at corner. And he did have some couple of moments at wide receiver as well. As you see, they list him as wide receiver, but he does play both sides of the football. He did play both sides of the football for Collins Hill in Georgia, but he is a Florida boy, like he mentioned many times, where he was going to go to Florida State, but ended up flipping to Jackson State and Deion Sanders and followed him to his new team in Colorado. He's 100% deserving of the number one ranking, and he is that good. Next, we're going to go ahead and get with Sam Hartman. He's a redshirt senior headed to Notre Dame from West Virginia. He's played the last 3 years, but really the last 2 years have really shown him in a great light. He is an excellent quarterback. He played the slow mesh system at Wake Forest, which is why he never really broke into the NFL rankings. So he pretty much went to Notre Dame to show that he can play in an NFL system under Marcus Freeman. It was supposed to be Tommy Rees who runs the NFL system, but he ended up leaving for Alabama. So it is going to be the tight ends coach who's now the offensive coordinator. So we'll see how that rolls for Sam Hartman and Notre Dame, but he was definitely a great pickup there. And he is enrolled. I don't know why it doesn't say he's enrolled. He is enrolled. Fentrell Cypress, going from Virginia to Florida State. It was, at least when I was looking at it, I didn't think he had anywhere else to go. Like, yes, he could have gone anywhere, but Fentrell Cypress's best spot would have been Florida State. Virginia was always a bad choice to me, in my opinion. And then with Tony Elliott getting there, it just made it worse. He has nothing to do with the defense. He doesn't really know defense too well, and the Virginia head coach that went before was a defensive head coach, so that's why Frenchell went there in the first place. So it just really didn't work out. Plus, Virginia was really bad last year. They had a couple of good players, just they're elsewhere, like Frenchell Cypress, who's a great corner. Him going to Florida State was a very good pickup for them. I expect him to definitely solidify a first-round draft choice with this selection here. A.D. Mitchell, going from Georgia to Texas, made all the sense in the world. Georgia makes no sense for any wide receiver recruit to ever go because they don't use him enough, and they didn't use A.D. enough. I know he has been injured the past couple of times. He's a two-time national champion, so he's no longer looking for that. He's looking for more playing time so he can become an official NFL player. This is why the move to Texas made all the sense in the world. He's coming up from being a junior. It just makes sense. This is your third year. This is the year that you have to go to the NFL. I don't know if he's going to go because Xavier Worthy is going to be the number one, and I don't know how many touches they're going to end up giving A.D. Mitchell, especially when they have one of the best tight ends in the country in Sanders, and they also have Isaiah Nayor as well. So we'll see on that. I do like A.D. Mitchell, though, and I think he's an absolute stud recruit. Dante Thornton, another wide receiver. He going from Oregon to Tennessee. Didn't really make much sense because he played with Bo Nix, and Bo Nix was very good, and I think he could have definitely thrived at Oregon. I really didn't understand the move to Tennessee, but I get Josh Heupel's system is very good for tight ends with speed, and that is Dante Thornton's biggest thing is that he has a ton of speed, and with Squirrel White there, and I believe, and Brew McCoy as well, so that's going to be a good threesome of wide receivers for Josh Heupel and Joe Milton. And I think he probably said, you know what, I just believe in Josh Heupel more, and I like the arm of Joe Milton. So I think it worked well for them there. Devin Leary being the next quarterback, going from NC State to Kentucky was super obvious. He was always getting hurt at NC State, didn't have a good offensive line. goes to about a worse offensive line, but a more NFL concept system to try to get him drafted. He will get drafted as a backup. I'm looking at him more of like a 4th to 6th round pick at best, to be honest with you. 4th round, worst 6th round pick. He's good, but he's nothing special. But he will turn around Kentucky from last season. I think he will play better than and have a better record than what Will Levis did. But the offensive line hasn't gotten that much better, and so that is going to be the biggest worry there. Dorian Singer probably made the second best move behind Fentrell Cypress. For me, I'm going from Arizona with under Jedd Fisch, great head coach, just never going to get the program to the heights of a USC. So him going to USC just makes more sense as Jordan Addison leaves. And they still have Mario Williams, but Mario Williams is the number one. Dorian Singer can now be the number one. Obviously, Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley are the whole reason why he left and went, and it makes the most sense. And he's probably gonna benefit the most from changing from one to another. Let's do another one here. Dominic Lovick and Ra Thomas, both being wide receivers, both moving from SEC schools, Missouri, Mississippi State to Georgia. I didn't understand that. They're not going to get the ball a ton. Still going to be very tight and heavy, along with Ladd McConkey as the other wide receivers. So I don't know how this is going to really work too well, especially with Dominic Lovick, how he was already being big time at Missouri. If I was just going to move schools, I would have went to Alabama, or I would have try to go outside the SEC then at that point if you were really stuck on it. But especially because he's from Illinois, so I don't understand why he didn't look at a school in the Big Ten to potentially go to. I could tell you a couple over there that he could have went to. And then Ra Thomas from Alabama, it would have made the most sense to go to Alabama. But not going there is a real head scratcher for me there. We'll see how they do. But I am not confident that Dominic Lovick and Robert Thomas is going to get very many yardage. Probably more in the 400 to 600 yard range. But if that was the case, you were better off just staying where you were at. In the case of Denver Harris, going from Texas A&M to LSU just made the most sense. Texas A&M is a dumpster fire and was a dumpster fire and is a dumpster fire, so it just made a whole lot of sense to move to LSU, go to a more stable program. You're closer. Well, you're not closer to home. You were from Texas A&M. College Station and Houston aren't that far apart, so I guess going to LSU is only one state over, still very close. From Houston to LSU, I believe, is only like 3 or 4 hours, so a lot of family can still make the drive and still see him. And he's an excellent corner, and I believe he will be very useful for LSU this upcoming season. And I like the move. Another Texas A&M to the program is Anthony Lucas, going to SC. Made sense. He's going to start at SC. He wasn't going to start probably at Texas A&M. Made the most sense to just make the move over there. Plus, he's a West Coast kid. It didn't make sense for him to come to SEC country anyways. Dante Cephas, one of the Kent State transfers, because they had a lot of good talent there that left because their head coach decided to be the offensive coordinator at Deion Sanders, Colorado University. Dante Cephas going to Penn State. Great move for Dante Cephas. Great move for Penn State. They needed to replace their big-time wide receivers. So getting Dante Cephas made a lot of sense. This is his last year. Comes to the university of where he wanted to play at, being from Pittsburgh, so it just made a lot of sense. And then Devontae Walker going to the in-state school in North Carolina made the most sense again. Like I said, it just makes sense that to go from Kent State to North Carolina, he makes them better with Josh Downs leaving. They definitely needed a new wide receiver. And then for Dante Cephas, he's replacing Parker Washington. Jaheim Bell going from South Carolina to Florida State. I don't understand why he left South Carolina, because I thought they were definitely going to use him more over there. I guess he just wasn't feeling it. Going to Florida State, though, is a really good choice, to be honest with you. Jordan Travis is definitely going to use him and definitely needed a big body target to get the ball to in space and times. I feel like that's where their offense is really lacking at. And I think he helps tremendously there. Um, Bear Alexander going to USC, super, 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 super important that happened because that solidifies the middle of USC. That's another starter that's going to go ahead and start for USC there. In my opinion, a lot of these guys are pretty good to okay guys. They're gonna be talked about. Zakiya Franklin is a big one that I wanted to go ahead and speak on. Him going from UTSA to Ole Miss makes a whole lot of sense. He needed to get the bigger exposure to make sure that he goes in the top 3 rounds. It just made a whole lot of sense. 6'1", 180 can absolutely burn and is absolutely a great receiving target. He was for Frank over there at UTSA, the quarterback. I would have thought he would have stayed just because his quarterback was still there and was coming back, but I understand the move to Ole Miss. I personally wouldn't have done the Ole Miss because I don't know who the quarterback is, and depending on the quarterbacks, depending on the style that I'm going to have to play. So I definitely would have looked elsewhere, especially if I'm from Cedar Hill, Texas. I definitely would have looked at Texas A&M or looking at one of the schools in Texas, Houston. You could have done Texas. I think Texas Tech actually made the most sense for Zakiya Frank. And if he was going to go ahead and stay in the state of Texas, which personally I would have done. Keon Coleman going and Louisiana boy should have ended up going. He was between Florida State and another school, and it didn't include LSU. Surprisingly, he should have went to LSU. He's from Louisiana. I know I'm biased because I like LSU, even though I'm from Connecticut. Obviously, a big UConn guy, but UConn's not good at football at all. So that's why I root for LSU in football. He should have went there because I think with Jaden Daniels, he definitely would have got the ball a lot more. I think with Florida State, they have a couple of other guys that they also want to get the ball to that are also about 6'5" and above. So for him, I don't know how he's going to fit in the pecking order. That's why I would have gone to LSU, where the only other person that I know was going to get the ball was Malik Neighbors, and then I could have been second. And the other pecking order, I could end up being third. I could end up being the third option because I have Jaheim Bell and I have Johnny, who's going to be the starting wide receiver. So that was something that I kind of was like, Dason McCullough going from Indiana to Oklahoma, great move. Edge player, Brent Venables loves the edge, so it just made a lot of sense there. Along with Rondell Bathrid from Connecticut, going from Wake Forest though to Oklahoma, again made sense. Brent Venables, an edge guy, loves the edge and loves linebacking. So these are things that just make a whole lot of sense for them to go after. I really don't know anybody that really it's gonna make a big difference somewhere else. I don't really see. Oh, I'm sorry. DJ Ungale, that was the next one. I knew I was looking for another one. Him going to Oregon State, perfect move for them. They needed a quarterback over there at Oregon State. I guess I know they have Jason Nolan, but a good other quarterback is definitely going to be needed. We don't know who's going to win that quarterback battle. I'm hoping it is DJU. I root for him a lot. I really like the kid ever since I seen him at St. John Bosco. I think Clemson did him dirty with the offensive coordinator changes and how bad Dabo wasn't adapting to that. It just didn't work. And if you didn't know, Dabo doesn't do offense or defense. He lets his coordinator change that. He's more of a GM where he just lets his people do his people's things, and he does his thing, which is try to recruit and get kids in and manage the game. That's kind of Dabo's style. So if you ever wonder, why that's supposed to be his side of the ball. No, Dabo doesn't have a side of the ball. Dabo came from special teams, so he's not really on either side of the ball. And then Darian Chestnut, good pickup for LSU. They needed another corner anyways. They lost a lot of corner help. So him coming from Syracuse is going to be immediate plug and play. I believe he's going to be starting as well. And then Christian Roland Wallace, Arizona again, Arizona to SC makes a lot of sense. They needed the help at corner at SC, so that's really helpful. And then Omar Speights, linebacker, Oregon State LSU made the most sense. He needed to get bigger exposure. I get it. He's from Oregon. He liked playing for the in-state school. Going to LSU in the SEC County will help him develop skills for the NFL and hopefully get him drafted, which was probably the biggest thing. But I don't think there was anything else. Nope. Oh, and Andre Carter going from Western Michigan to Indiana. Pretty helpful there. So that was pretty much the transfer portal. So far, I don't know if there's any. Okay, yep. So here's some new ones. Here, we have some recent ones. Nothing huge, but Virginia Tech and Wake Forest getting a lot of transfers. Edge, wide receiver, linebacker. Virginia Tech getting wide receiver, quarterback, and Kyron Jones coming from Baylor. And you can see a lot more Virginia Tech. You're gonna see it a lot. Virginia Tech needs a lot of help. Obviously, so does West Virginia. That's how they got Cole Taylor to go there from Colorado. A lot of transfers. Virginia and Tony Elliott getting a lot in a quarterback, and Tony Muskett not coming from a great program, but it is Kobe Pace, Malik Washington, which was a great Northwestern wide receiver. Ugana Nani and Trayvon Kell, an OT in a corner, along with Jimmy Chris, who's an OT and cornerback Malcolm Green. At this point, if you're trying to grab transfer portals, you're pretty much not running into anybody that's a high level. So that's just keep that in mind on what is pretty much going on. And then another big thing that a lot of people didn't know that finally happened. Phil Djokovic getting to Pittsburgh and getting the ability to play there, and then Chance Nolan going to TCU, backing up the Morris kid, and then UCF getting two more quarterbacks to compete with James Ryan Plumlee and Gunnar Smith and Xavier Williams. Gunnar Smith from right down the road, like he played at Lake Mary, I knew that, and he went to USF, terrible school, don't know why he still went there. And then from Colquitt County, Georgia, Xavier Williams. And I believe, yeah, that's it. And then Louisville getting 3 quarterbacks. Harrison Bailey, was an amazing 5-star recruit at one point and ended up going down to 4-star, but never really working out anywhere, and he really hasn't been very good. They have him as 3rd string. Second, Brady Allen, coming from Purdue, where the head coach came from, obviously well known. And then the best of the trio, which is Jack Plummer. But make sure to like, subscribe, hit notification bell. I am going to be doing update video guys on upcoming news and things like that. I know it's been a while that I've done college football video. It's just because I didn't know if you guys were really into it and liking it, so I just kind of changed it up into a little bit more boxing. But we're back with obviously the college football, and I am going to keep bringing that to you guys. So make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.